Good evening, everyone. Whether you're here with us in person or watching remotely, I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor. This is the July 23rd, 2025 meeting of the Brighton Town Board, and I welcome you all. In just a few minutes, we will begin the open forum portion of our meeting. The open forum is the portion of the meeting where members of the public can share your comments, with the town board. Obviously, if you're here in person, that's easy. If you are live streaming us, you will have to log in to the Teams live stream, and the link to do that is on the town webpage, www.townofbrighton.org. And by the way, although we've been using that URL for a long time, we will in the not-too-distant future, be changing to a .gov URL because New York state law will be requiring most municipalities with a population over 1,500 to be changing to a .gov. So we're going to have to get out of the habit. Obviously, for some period of time, we'll continue that old URL and it'll roll over to the new one. But just letting you know that's one of the many things that was passed through the state legislature that affects towns this year. As we have done for many, many years, our town board meetings are accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community. We have our ASL interpreters. We greatly appreciate their services. Samantha Gethin and Alyssa Suppley, thank you, both of you, for being with us tonight. As a reminder, if you are here in the room, the agenda and supporting materials for tonight's board meeting are available on the table outside the door. If you are live streaming us remotely, you can get them again on our website, www.townofbrighton.org. Please rise if you are able to do so, or rise in spirit, and we'll start with a pledge to the flag. I'll ask Councilmember Salzman to lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have a proclamation tonight. I'm going to just read it right here because we don't have anybody here to receive it. But coming up the week of August 3rd through August 9th is National Farmers Market Week. And we are very proud of our Brighton Farmers Market. Unfortunately, Sue Gardner-Smith, our market manager, and our market manager since the very beginning of the Brighton Farmers Market 18 years ago, could not come tonight, but I will be presenting it to her on Sunday so that she can display it before and during National Farmers Market Week. The Brighton Farmers Market is, other than the public market downtown, which is really a different sort of beast, the Brighton Farmers Market is by far the largest and, maybe my biased opinion, most successful farmers market in Monroe County. It's also one of the few year-round markets in Monroe County with our winter market barn now. As I mentioned, Sue has been managing the market for 18 years, and she's been managing under the philosophy from the very beginning that a farmer's market like ours should be based on local growers, local producers, and that has remained the rule to this day. You can't buy a banana at the Brighton Farmers Market. You can't buy a tangerine at the Brighton Farmers Market. Everything that is grown within this immediate area. But because this is such a rich agricultural and production area, we do get a great variety And we're right in the sweet spot right now. The market right now has so many, whether it's corn or garlic scapes or tomatoes, or just the list goes on and on and on. But because we are focused on local producers, which are small family, typically businesses, not only is the Brighton Farmers Market a great place to shop, but the Brighton Farmers Market is very important to those businesses that are vendors at the market. I remember a number of years ago, I was very surprised speaking with one of our longtime vendors who told me that he does more business at the Brighton Farmers Market than he does he's also a vendor down at the public market downtown. He does more business here at the Brighton Market than he does at the public market downtown. That's indicative of how important our market is to our local vendors and producers and growers. So I know everybody in this room has probably been to the market many, many times, but I want to encourage folks out there, if you haven't, it's really something special. And come on out next Sunday morning at Brighton High School, where the market will be operating through November. But let me read this proclamation. It honors National Farmers Market Week, August 3rd through 9th, 2025. Whereas National Farmers Market Week launches a week-long recognition of the importance of farmers markets, from supporting local farms and farmers to building community. And whereas farmers markets expand opportunities for producers to sell directly to consumers, sustaining a network of small to mid-size farm sales and local food products, while promoting healthy eating and supplying fresh food options for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. And of course, that's more important now than ever with the current administration's attacks on SNAP. And whereas the Brighton Farmers Market is integral to the quality of life in Brighton, offering entertainment and prepared food, and selling fresh vegetables, fruits, and meats, while supporting local commerce, shortening the farm-to-table supply chain, and showcasing regional offerings from within a 50-mile radius of the town, including some vendors who are located right here in Brighton. Whereas the Brighton Farmers Market is well-loved, enjoys a regular following, and is a destination for visitors, drawn by its stellar reputation, thanks to the exemplary work of our market manager, the incomparable Sue Gardner-Smith, who pulls the entire market together and whose hands-on, community-centered approach makes our market a nearly irresistible and always enjoyable Sunday excursion. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and the members of the Town Council do hereby extend our gratitude to Sue Gardner-Smith and encourage residents and visitors alike to explore the diverse array of vendors, activities, and flavors found at the Brighton Farmers Market as we celebrate National Farmers Market Week. And this proclamation is signed this 23rd day of July, 2025. And I know we all thank Sue for her amazing work for 18 years leading our farmers market. Okay, we will now move on to the open forum. As I mentioned, we hold the open forum at the beginning of every town board meeting. The open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board concerning any matter relating to the town, whether it's an item on our agenda tonight or not. Although I would note that if you are here to address the town board during the public hearing that we have on tonight's agenda, which will consider the removal of several trees located in the rights-of-way of various town streets, I would encourage you to wait until that public hearing is called, which we'll be doing in just a few minutes, and that way your comments will be included in the record of the public hearing. Now, if you're here in person, when we open up the open forum, if you're here in person and would like to speak, please raise your hand. When I call on you, I'll ask you to come to the podium to speak. If you're participating in the meeting remotely and you wish to speak during the open forum, you must first join that Teams meeting. And as mentioned, there are instructions for doing that on the town's webpage, www.townofbrighton.org. If you're on the Teams simulcast, you will be unmuted by the host to speak if you use the raised hand function. Now, I ask all speakers during the open forum, whether in person or speaking remotely, to please state your name and address before speaking. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. I will give you a 30-second warning before the 3 minutes expires. If you have questions for us, we may not be able to answer them tonight, particularly if your questions relate to a matter that's not on the agenda this evening. But our goal here tonight and during the open forum at every town board meeting is to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with the board and for us to be able to listen thoughtfully to your words. Therefore, I would ask that all participants in the open forum please direct your remarks to the town board and not to the room or to other speakers. Please avoid personal attacks or outbursts of any kind, including applause, booing, or the like, during the open forum, out of respect for the speakers and out of respect for the time of everyone here tonight, or not here tonight for that matter. Also, out of respect for others in the room, I don't see anybody with any signs, but we don't allow signs. We don't want to block people's view with signs. People who do not follow these rules will be warned. Repeated failure to follow these rules or failure to follow other directions from the chair may result in your speaking privileges being ended early, being directed to leave the meeting, or the early termination of the open forum. So with that, I declare the open forum to be open. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to address the board during the open forum? Bob, come on up to the podium.
I'm Bob Von Lacteville. I hope I can keep it real fast in 3 minutes, given how many other speakers there are going to be. But I will. I will be brief. I think you all have received an email from me recently. Does that sound okay? Unrelated, well, related. Last meeting, I shared the story of a real event, and I intentionally kept it anonymous. Like all human beings, we carry our baggage and things that can skew how we see things or have opinions about things. So I thought anonymous might help us all be more objective. I'm back tonight, no anonymous. The town I talked about is Brighton. The man I witnessed who victimized your peer and sister in elective office, Robin, with his intentional vicious act of hate. The man to this day is still in a leadership position at the Federation and has never been held accountable by the Rochester Jewish Federation CEO, who organized others to join her in several years of a campaign to harm Robin for posting on a photo on Facebook. The nature of collective harm, like happened in Brighton, and like a lot of other places around the country, is really a foundation for acts of hate. And for community leaders, including elected ones, to remain silent. As Martin Luther King said, to ignore hate is to become compliant. Hate is contagious, and silence makes it legitimate. I said at your last meeting, I asked, what would I do as a witness? What would you do as a witness to an act of hate? I went to the Federation with its Center to Stop Hate, whose mission is uniting the community and overcoming hate through education, dialogue, and positive action. And I asked them for a conversation. The Federation, in a really offensive and personally attacking email response to me, refused to have a conversation. I paid a price for putting into action my own question. I've been harassed by others associated with or in kindred spirit with the foundation. I don't think I've said that out loud to anyone. While I talked to you, Robin, privately, before and after going to the Federation, I did not speak out publicly to you. And I never apologized for not publicly speaking out and for being silent and publicly speaking out. I'm ashamed I didn't do that before tonight. I don't have an excuse. I don't have any words. What was done to Robin was a blatant, actually an evil act of hate. I'm ashamed I didn't speak before. I don't have an excuse. I did not think about coming here to my town board members to speak and apologize to you, Robin. As I said last week was the first time I've ever spoken at the town board. I come to you, my town board, tonight to ask you to break your silence and for you to publicly condemn the act against one of your elected town members, actually your sister in government, one of your sisters in government. To publicly call out the leadership of the Federation to break its silence and hold accountable the high-level employee for his act of hate against a Brighton Town Board elected official, or any elected official. For the Federation leadership to publicly condemn and take responsibility for its role that led to the act. I hope you will do that. And I also ask you to go to Robin one by one and have a conversation.
Bob, I am going to ask you in 30
I'm going to
seconds or
finish
so to
quickly,
wind up.
and I hope you will respect and understand if I go a little over.
You
That's
have,
my
but
hope.
I want to give you that respect.
I'm asking you all to go one-to-one, one by one, to have a conversation with Robin. If I was victimized by an act of hate like Robin, I might feel it's too little too late. If you as town board members feel it's too late, it's not. in a world where we can be anything, we can be kind. Please go talk with her individually. If the Federation scrolled,
Bob, I am going to ask you in 30 seconds, and we're happy to take your written, but
No, I'm
we are
not
at
doing written.
we are at 7.5 minutes.
okay, I'm not going to be long. And if you need to cut me off now, I'll talk with you all individually or
No, I want you
collectively
to
after. And
keep speaking,
I
please.
hope other members might, if you ask me to continue, I would like to. I understand. Since I came to the board meeting, last Friday, a second town board member, not Robin, posted on Facebook a photo of a different prominent woman using Town of Brighton logo and wrote, "Proud to march with and be inspired by her words." If the Federation scrolled, isolated the Facebook post of that woman, they would see she was an advocate to defund the police. If they saw the face of Louis Farragon on one of her posts and were so horrified, they stopped there and couldn't and didn't view the video she posted. Might the Federation, without talking to that second member of the board, launch another campaign of harm? Might that lead to another act of hate? We live in a really hateful world, and so many people have acted on their negative feelings about Robin, especially after she posted on Facebook. Others have similar feelings about the one of you who posted on Facebook without ever having personal conversations. I can only imagine what might happen if there's no humanity by conversation after the second photo of the other board member, by the second photo by the other board member. It's important, and intentionally I leave anonymous the second town board member's name. I wrote to you, and I'm wrapping up, and I appreciate your indulgence, Bill. I wrote asking if I could have a private conversation with each of you individually, if you would, or as a group after tonight, if you want. I just need to say, a lot of things led me to come tonight. I have a studio at home, and I have on right in front of me a table talk. When I managed the coffee shop at the JCC, I did what I called tabletop talks. I'd put quotes on tables. Sometimes they were funny, serious. I kept this one. I'm probably the only one. Everyone has an expiration date, so what's important in your life? And next to it, Martin Luther King, to ignore evil is to become accomplice. And hate is contagious. Silence makes it legitimate. In a world where we can be anything, be kind.
Thank you, Bob. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum this evening? There's no one online. There's no one here in the room. Chris, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Bill, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman,
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing.
Aye. We have one public hearing tonight. It's a public hearing concerning the removal of a number of town trees from highway rights-of-way. You know, we do these public hearings regularly, and I thought I'd share a little background as to why it is we do them. The town's tree law recognizes that our trees within the public right-of-way don't necessarily belong to the adjoining property owner. They belong to the community as a whole, just like the street and the sidewalk that are within the right-of-way. And therefore, the town has a special interest in the health, but also the potential removal of those trees. And under our tree law, trees that are of a significant size, and that is deemed to be 30 inches in diameter or greater, must be reviewed not only by our Conservation Board, which serves as our tree council, but also through a public hearing of this town board. And so that's why we hold these public hearings. We have one tonight. It's a public hearing concerning trees, as I said, on a number of different streets, large and small: Alamo Drive, Clover Street, Edgemore Road, Fair Oaks Avenue, Greenfield Lane, and Meredith Avenue. And with that, I will ask the town clerk, has the necessary legal notice been given?
Yes, Supervisor, notice was published in the July 7th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you. And Glenn, or I guess Glenn, has notice been sent to adjoining property owners?
I believe so, but Bill Hapner was leading this effort, and they've done the due diligence for this action.
All right. I'm going to want to make sure that did in fact happen, but I am going to call the direct that this public hearing is open, and we will make sure that adjoining residents did in fact get notice before any action is taken concerning removal and replacement of those trees. And removal and replacement, and again, I am called this public hearing to order now. Removal and replacement is important because generally when we remove a tree under the tree law from the right-of-way, we do try to replace it with a tree from our list of trees that are appropriate for streets. There are some trees that handle salt better than others, for example. There are some trees that push up sidewalks with their roots worse than others. If you've ever been to New Orleans and you've seen the sidewalks along some of the grand boulevards in New Orleans and you see what the live oaks do to them, we don't grow any live oaks around here, but some trees do have a greater impact on sidewalks than others. So all of those things are taken into account in deciding what trees the town tries to plant as replacements. So we do, this public hearing is open now. We have a detailed report included in your packet provided by our arborist. And Glenn, again, I'm guessing you don't have anything further to say than those detailed reports from the arborist.
Prior to the meeting, I read through that. There was a very detailed report, photos, documentation for the health of the trees, and provide the recommendations for removal.
Each one of those trees has a rating that rates not only its jeopardy, but the jeopardy that a failure might put adjoining people or property. So with that, is there anyone here that would like to address the board about any of these trees this evening? I see no one here in the room, and I see no one on our team's live stream. One more opportunity. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Hearing none, I declare this public hearing to be closed. Can I have a motion, Councilmember Corrado, and then we can have any discussion about any of these trees.
Sure. In the matter of the removal of a 34-inch Norway maple at 60 Alamo Drive, a 42-inch silver maple at 1393 Clover Street, a 40-inch box elder at 51 Edgemore Road, a 32-inch silver maple at 156 Fair Oaks Avenue, a 40-inch silver maple at 70 Greenfield Lane, and a 35-inch silver maple at 65 Meredith Avenue. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Nate, the next matter, please. I'm sorry, I'm skipping over too much stuff here.
That's okay.
Communications, yeah, if you would make a motion to receive and file the communication.
Bill, I move that we receive and file the communications.
Second.
We have only one communication tonight. It is correspondence from Chief Cathaldi advising us of the impending retirement of Bruce Blackman, who has been our animal control officer, I think, since the beginning of time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. He's done 39 years, and I think it was 4 months.
Wow.
He did 8 of those years as a police dispatcher, back when we had our own dispatchers here in Brighton.
Right.
He'll be missed. His last day is August 1st, and we'll have big shoes to fill, for sure.
And I know you have already begun the process of working with Tricia and looking to fill the vacancies that we have in animal control.
Yeah, there are some vacancies. I'm trying to minimize any disruptions that there may be. There may be a few, but I've got some things in place, and hopefully it's going to be seamless. As it stands right now, it should be.
Good.
But there might be just a few disruptions for a week or so.
Our animal control officers have done such a great job over the years. They've been responsive not only to dog issues, but other wild animal issues. And I know it's, again, anytime you're collaborating with folks outside the immediate area, there can be some disruption of service. We're also, and the chief and I have been discussing, and we've been discussing with our director of finance, the challenges posed by some new state regulations that go into effect January 1st of next year. And although we do have a kennel facility right now, it's not clear at all that that would meet some of the new standards, and that those new standards will require some staffing and physical plant improvements. And obviously for good reason. We want to make sure that when we are holding dogs or other animals, that they receive humane care. A lot of things changed a couple years ago when the veterinary service was bought out and then shut down all of their interaction with the towns. And most towns are facing the concerns that we have, no longer having that service provider, not necessarily having their own facility, and trying to find ways to make sure they can comply with this new law. But I'm grateful for Bruce's service for all of that time. We will miss him. We wish him well. And he has done great service, not only for the people of Brighton, but for the animals of Brighton. And thank you, Bruce. Thank you for 39 years. Any further discussion on receiving and filing that item of communication? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Committee reports, community services. Robin.
Thank you. The Community Services Committee met last Wednesday, July 16th. Among the items that we discussed were, under continuing business, park updates. We had a discussion of the 4th of July event, strong Similar to pre-COVID, participation numbers were reported in the 5K, and Meridian Center Park event went well as well. We had an increased number of food vendors, which was well received and kept lines manageable. Everything at that site went smoothly. We did have a discussion of unscheduled activities at Buckland Park being an area of concern during the 4th of July event. We had a discussion of staffing, specifically with the need to split resources of police officers and park staff between Meridian and other parks that might be where unofficial events might be hosted. There was a discussion of ideas to make the bounce attractions more affordable for larger families in particular. We had a discussion of the shade or the lack thereof, given the higher temperatures of the past few years and the potential for some sort of hydration or cooling or mister station. But with those 4th of July activities concluded and vegetation growth slowing somewhat, park staff is shifting focus more to trail maintenance, particularly at Corbett's Glen in the near term. Ongoing efforts to connect with CSX to address bridge and railing maintenance issues continue. We had a discussion of Brighton Town Park Trail Connector from the parking lot to the paved portion of the trail, and also park staffing and shifts that have become more manageable, particularly with paid time off requests with the addition of a full-time laborer starting July 9th. We had a discussion of solar panel installations that are ongoing at various park buildings and better coordination given special events, camps, and rentals that are ongoing during the season. Under recreation programs, our camps are underway and going very well. We are fortunate again to have strong staff this year. Flexibility is one of the hallmarks of our summer camp offerings, and there's still a few spaces remaining for last-minute camper signups in our preschool, Council Rock, and TCMS Summer Playground Camp. So don't miss out. Get your kids registered today if you are in need of that. The summer concert series is off to a great start, and we're looking forward to the remainder of the series, especially with the addition of a food vendor for the series. Brighton community bike rides are going great. We had another strong showing in the July ride. The addition of interpreting surfaces for welcoming remarks is a good augment to the event and to the program. We had a discussion of staffing, specifically the hiring and recruitment for a full-time recreation leader position. We also discussed the polling site at the Winter Farmers Market Barn, particularly with regard to early voting and how it intersects with our recreation programming. We had a discussion of food cupboard and recycling events and promotion, discussion of the possibilities and possible alternate locations for the recycling events due to traffic congestion related to those events, and also a discussion of the New York State BRICS grant kickoff, which had been earlier that week. Notification of that award is anticipated November 1. We also had a discussion of the feasibility study and community center needs assessment report and the presentation that was made at the last town board meeting. And finally, we discussed an alternate location for the summer 2026 summer farmers market. An update to our farmers market, community garden and tree nursery site. We had a discussion of the tree nursery and the additional spigot installed through the community garden for the tree nursery. There was also a discussion of the coordination with the Parks and Highway departments to get trees moved into parks and the community when they are big enough, when they are coming from the nursery. And also, we are anticipating further discussion of the parameters for a tree ambassador program. Then an update to our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. We talked about our Juneteenth and Pride Trivia with the Brighton Seniors programming, which went very well. Seniors were very engaged during the programming. We also talked about the inclusive summer camp training with the Recreation Department staff that was very well received and included conversations about making everyone feel comfortable and welcome and fostering a welcoming atmosphere in light of neurodiversity among campers. We talked about the townwide Pride celebration and flag unfurling, which proceeded smoothly, and as usual, it was a joyful event. The town of Brighton participated in the Pride Parade on Saturday, July 19th. The contingent was strong, and lots of fun was had there as well. We also discussed the continuation of the Town Talk series, which earlier in the year had been very successful, so we'll be looking forward to repeating it again in the fourth quarter of this year, and we're having a discussion of the topics that will be entertained. The IDEA board meeting was this week, where membership continued to discuss those topics, and also that given the dire need under this current administration, the potential for an ongoing partnership with Rochester Refugee Resettlement. And an update to our Sustainability Oversight Committee. That meeting had been moved to Tuesday, July 22nd. The draft SOC response to the capital improvement plan is in process and was the focus of the July meeting, which was last night. The SOC is also looking at this site map for Town Hall and Monroe County and New York State DOT projects and determining best ways in which the Complete Streets Policy, Climate Action Plan, Bike Walk Brighton Plan, and Comprehensive Plan goals can be achieved therein. Staying informed on the NYSERDA grant implementation of solar and geothermal projects. And finally, there was a discussion of ICLEI climate communities and how it may be a means to keep abreast of additional grant opportunities given the sunsetting of the current implementation of clean energy community grants through NYSERDA. The Conservation Board continues to promote the tree nursery and pollinator pathway projects. And an update to our Town of Brighton annual Clean Sweep and Recycling events. On Sunday, October 26th, 2025, is the proposed date for the next semi-annual recycling event. It's always a bit more challenging to get commitments for the Sunday events, but those have come through. Finally, we discussed Council Member on Your Corner and making the necessary connections with staff on the anticipated topics and start of those Council Member on Your Corner events beginning in August. In upcoming events, finally, we have the Bands at Buckland Summer Concert Series ongoing on Tuesdays from July 8th through August 12th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Over at Buckland Park, 1341 Westfall Road. So you can join us weekly for our free summer concert series at Buckland Park. There is a full schedule available online. We also discussed that the next Community Brighton Ride will be on Friday, September 12th at 5:30 p.m. Again, this is free, but registration is required. And that is on the Town of Brighton Recreation Department website, www.townofbrighton.org/rec. The Mighty Motors Brighton Highway Open House will be at the Brighton Highway Department, 1941 Elmwood Avenue, on Thursday, August 21st, from 5 to 7 p.m., with a sensory-friendly option occurring from 4:30 to 5 p.m. So you can come meet the machines that help keep our community clean, safe, and beautiful. With parent participation, children will have the chance to explore all different types of vehicles. This is an open house style event, so you can stop in anytime during the event window. Our next Drug Enforcement Agency prescription drug take-back event will be at the temporary home of Brighton Town Hall at Empire State University, 680 West Fall Road, on Saturday, October 25, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And again, that semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event will be at the Brighton Highway Department parking lot, 1941 Elmwood Avenue, on Sunday, October 26th, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on Wednesday, August 20, 2025, at 10 a.m., or immediately following our Finance and Administrative Services Committee meeting at the Brighton Recreation Center at 1666 Winton Road. Please do use the Winton Road entrance for access, and as usual, members of the community are invited and encouraged to attend.
Thanks, Robin. Nate, Finance.
Yes, Bill, the Finance Administrative Service Committee last met on July 16th, and a lot of our meeting was spent talking about the Supervisor's 2025 Town Budget Quarterly Report, which I won't steal your thunder, Bill. I know you're going to talk about later. I see it on the agenda here, so I'll leave that for you to talk about. But I will mention that one item we discussed was a change order, which is on tonight's agenda as well with Landry Mechanical. I believe that's about a plumbing, that's expanding our plumbing contract, which was needed because when we did the expanded work on the library, we actually separated out the water system, which was much needed, but that required a change order, so we will take care of that this evening. Our next meeting is on August 6th at 8:30 a.m.
Thank you, Nate, and I will let Earl do much of the talking on the
Sure.
supervisor's quarterly update, but public safety, Chris.
Thanks, Bill. I reported on our public safety meeting for August at our last town board meeting. Our next public safety
Yeah,
meeting.
let me before we talk about it.
Oh, you know what, Bill? I cited the wrong action item. No, I didn't.
No, you got the right one.
I got it right, okay.
When we get to that, I'll.
You'll talk
but you
more
did
about it.
cite the right one. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
That was the one that was discussed. Yeah. So the State Association of Towns Board meeting conflicts with the Public Safety and Public Works Committee meetings that are currently scheduled for the 12th. Are board members available if we move those to the 14th, the Thursday, the 14th? Same times, 8 and 9, or 0800, as public safety likes to call it.
That's my understanding,
Yes.
Bill, and I think that works for the members.
That worked for the
Works.
two chairs. Does that work, Nate, and for you, Robin? Okay. Then, and we'll get out new notices, but
So our
now
next-
I'll let you say when your next meeting is.
So our next public safety meeting will be August 14th, Thursday, at 0800.
Thanks. And finally, Public Works Committee, Christine.
Short and sweet. Public Works has not met since the last town board meeting, but we will meet again on August 14th, Thursday morning at 9 a.m. right here.
Thank you. New business, Nate, reading and approval of claims.
Earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $1,952,460.31. Notable claims include payment for construction services for the Town Hall renovation project. That's the Millstone Construction Partners, which I know is on tonight's agenda. A payment to Hines Concrete Contractors, payment for concrete gutters on Southwood Lane. And a payment for serial bonds for road equipment, road projects, and HVAC unit at the Operations Center. Bill, the claims appear to be in order, and I move for them to be approved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Why don't you do the next one, too, since you
Yeah, you got it.
reference it and the Finance Committee discussion on it?
That's right, and it was the right one. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute a change order with Landry Mechanical in the amount of $48,053.24, exceeding the 10% contingency of the base contract bid for the Town Hall renovation project. I move that we approve this motion as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second?
Feel free, Glenn, or maybe Glenn, do you want to lead this?
I can
Discussion?
do my best. So with a
Because there are several.
Yeah, with a
several
70-year-old,
changes here.
with a 70-year-old building, there's a lot of things that you find because the project documentation back in the day for as-built was not up to speed. And so there's several things that we found when we were doing the thing. So so all these were with the plumbing and the piping contract with Landry, some dealing with the water, the plumbing, and some of the gas associated with some of the fixtures. So one of them, as Nate said, was working on some of the plumbing for the library for additional costs. Some other parts was dealing with some of the plumbing associated with some asbestos piping that had to get reworked within the DPW area of the building. Additional ones were when they were doing some additional floor work, they found additional concrete under the floor, so there was 2 layers.
That was the amazing one.
Yeah. Two concrete slabs that they had to dig through to get to the work that they had to do. And the final one is for additional ballast wind restraints for the roof gas piping to better protect the equipment on the roof for our heating and ventilation.
Yeah, that second layer of concrete, and as you said, we didn't have proper as-built, which today in a construction project, the owner of a building would get drawings that show the work that was done. We had no idea. There was nothing that would have led anybody to believe there was a whole nother layer of concrete in that area that involved a significant expense to remove a whole lot more concrete than anybody ever expected, about $23,000 extra dollars. So, but that's, as you said, the nature of construction renovation, specifically of older buildings. Any other information on that? Any questions that members of the board have on that? Nate, you made the, who seconded that?
I did.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, then Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Robin, the next one, please.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute an engagement letter with Mengel Metzger Bar and Company for town audits and special review services in an amount not to exceed $34,325 and $35,550 for audits of calendar years 2025 and 2026 respectively. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And although the resolution is correct, I just want to clarify the description in the agenda, because in addition to those numbers that are correct, the letter and the resolution also calls out an additional $4,500 each year if what is called a single audit is required. A single audit is an audit, a type of audit that the federal government requires if expenditures of federal monies above a certain level are made, grants or other uses of federal money can trigger a single audit. In our case, it's the ARPA money that we received from the federal government in COVID aid, the approximately $3.8 million that has gone to cover part of the cost of the town hall project. I anticipate we will certainly be spending some of that money in 2025, so we will clearly need that single audit and the $4,500 expense this year to do this year's audit. In other words, next year. I anticipate we will probably also still be spending ARPA money in 2026. Whether it will be enough to trigger the need for a single audit, I don't know. But Mengel Metzger has committed to that same price, $4,500, for the single audit for both years. So you had it right, Robin. It just didn't show up in the agenda itself. So we have a motion. It's been seconded. Any discussion on that? This was discussed in the Finance Committee. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris, the next one, please.
Next item, Bill, is to approve the standard workday reporting for elected and appointed officials. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And in this case, it relates to Judge John Falk. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. The next item, and this is one that you were worried that you had gotten the
I
right
see,
one.
that's right.
Yeah.
I saw it on the agenda.
This is a change order.
That's right.
Well, let me have a motion first, and then we'll do the discussion. Christine?
Certainly. This last matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute a change order with Milestone Construction Partners in an amount not to exceed $20,000, exceeding the 10% contingency of the base contract bid for the Town Hall renovation project. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
We just learned about this recently, and after the Finance Committee meeting, but it relates to an area that our contractors want to get into right away, and so as to avoid what would actually be a 3-week delay, because we're 3 weeks until the next meeting. This relates, if you'll recall, in the old town hall, which those of us that have been around for a while remember, the end near the public safety wing, in other words, the east end of the main town hall, used to be the home of the Brighton Town Court. And there's an area in there that's raised, and it affected the town attorney's office as well as the other offices there at the end. We had assumed that it was all poured concrete and that the cost of removing it all would be quite substantial. Again, however, the bad news is sometimes when we don't have these as-built, we discover things are worse than we thought. In this case, actually, one way of looking at it is it's better than we thought, because instead of all being poured concrete, it was really a layer of basically concrete block with a very small layer of concrete poured over that, and therefore the cost of removing it and making it more accessible to all is a lot less than we thought it would be. So we don't know for sure how much it's going to cost, because it literally, it's happening as we're speaking. We're going to get an estimate. We fully expect it'll be less than 20,000, which is why that not to exceed number is in the resolution. In fact, it may not even take us over the 10%. We don't know that yet. But to be sure, we wanted to have board approval on it. Their guess is that it's probably 10 to 12,000, I think.
12 to 15.
Oh, okay. It's a little higher than what I had heard earlier, but in that case, it would take us over the 10%.
They need a few more days to get the formal proposal.
Yeah. So that's why we didn't have this in finance, but with your pleasure, I would like to move it forward tonight anyway. And we do have that motion. Any questions on that or anything else, Glenn, that you would like to add?
It's just doing right by the town. That didn't make sense for the finance director, chief of staff, or the attorney to step up into their office.
And for people coming into their
Exactly.
offices.
And it makes it ADA accessible for anybody that would be coming to enter those spaces in the event that the future person occupying those spaces needed those accommodations. We wouldn't have to provide a alternative work environment for them to have to work in. So it's putting everything on a flat level, everything's one level, and it's just doing right for the future of the town.
Yeah, I agree. Anything further? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, I will start, as was mentioned earlier, with the supervisor's report for the first 6 months of the year on town's finances. And rather than doing that myself, Earl, the floor is yours. And we have it up here on the screen, and I believe, I don't know if it's going through on, there it is, on our Teams.
And the slides are also available in the packet, and I also want to mention that the June 2025 expense and revenue reports are available on the town website under the Finance Department. We usually, as we go through the year, put our financial reports there. And every quarter, we like to review our results compared to budget and do a short update on that, which is what we will do over the next few slides here. And usually, the place we begin is by reviewing the town budget as it was adopted last November. The comment to make here is that when we do approve the budget, we have an appropriated fund balance amount for each of the funds in case we need to use that. So the first update as we project forward is that we don't anticipate needing to use fund balance this year to balance the budget, which is a good thing. We don't anticipate having the surpluses we did last year. It's looking like each fund will be very close to a break-even scenario this year, but certainly we won't be using a lot of fund balance, hopefully, unless something unforeseen occurs. So we track that. I begin tracking that now on a monthly basis just to work with department heads and try to make sure we end up in as good as possible for the year. The next slide here, I didn't change. It's just a reminder of how crazy the interest rates can go. And for a little while now, they've helped us. And one of the reasons for our surplus last year, the main reason was earned interest income that we don't normally have. And you can see how low the interest rates have been for most of the last decade. And we hear a lot about this in the news, and so we don't know where they're going to be going, but they basically stayed flat for the last 3 months, so there's not much to report on there. And what we like to do on this slide is compare our budget numbers with our actual to look at how much of our budget we have used so far this year. And we compare that to last year at this time. We know last year was a good year, so we hope to be in the same ballpark. You can see on the revenue side, our sales tax was very similar to last year. It was the first payment was a little bit lower than last year's first payment, and we haven't received the second payment yet. On the mortgage tax side, we know that first payment is going to be a little bit lower than last year as well. So we're watching those numbers carefully as we go through this year. The pilot side is going to always be close to 100%, and the use of money is where we see our interest income. Interest rates are not as high as they were last year, so we're a little bit lower, but certainly we're doing very well. We don't anticipate or budget for interest rates as high as they are now to to be safe and anticipating they will fall. So we are certainly looking good compared to budget there. And the rest of the numbers look in line with where we expected them to be so far, halfway through the year. On the expenditure side, our wages are a little bit higher as a percentage than last year, still under 50%, which is good. And we have a few more positions filled than we did last year at this time. So there's always going to be a little bit of fluctuation each year. Overtime is something we watch as well, and that is a lot higher so far this year, and that is because of the winter weather from early in the winter season.
But still not more than we would expect, because we normally expect, because so much of our overtime expense is driven by the snow season, and most of that is in the first half of the year. The fact that we're a little over 50%, even though we're only halfway through the year, is not unexpected. Last year, with a particularly mild winter, the overtime number was very, very low and helped us a great deal. This is not a
Yes, and I should
troubling
add that
number.
we don't anticipate or budget for mild winters, so that was one thing that did help us out last year. And we don't anticipate, the most severest of weather when we budget this year was just a lot different than the two prior years, so that's where we notice the difference. Really, there's nothing else unusual to point out here at this time, and overall, the total expenditures being a little bit higher than last year is because of the wages and overtime being a little bit higher. The next two slides just summarized what we've already talked about in the there continues to be inflationary impacts, even though we know inflation has fallen in the real world. In the municipal world, we still face inflation. We know that our health insurance numbers for next year are going to be a little bit high, and
A lot high.
a lot higher than we would like.
They will be, we are part, as board members all know, we are part of a consortium, FLMHIT, the Finger Lakes Municipal Health Insurance Trust, that by collaborating together and being a larger group, we're able to get good rates. But we still expect health insurance rates to be up as much as 12%. Next year, we don't have the final numbers yet, but that's sort of the area that they've led us to expect for budgeting purposes. That's a bad number. It's a hard number to deal with, but it's also probably less than what the general community rates are going to be. that's
And
an important
another
part of-
number that we watch that's important to us is the New York State contribution for retirement, which we do not know what that number will be, but I would anticipate it's going to be similar to last year, which was about 10%. So we have a lot of pressure on our wages and benefits. And we also, some of the things that we do, like purchase vehicles, purchase plow trucks, do sidewalk maintenance, and those types of things, those expenses have been going up quite high as well. So we don't live in the 3% inflation world, and we don't anticipate living there for a little while. I already talked about interest earnings that we're watching carefully, and we read about them in the news, and the direction they're heading is likely lower, so we're also watching that as well. And then our sales revenues from Monroe County in the form of sales tax and mortgage tax revenue, those had been going up quite a bit the last couple of years, and it's anticipated that those will be leveling off as well. So we are, of course, watching those things carefully. And the final slide here are some other conclusions, which are really similar to last quarter. Not a lot has changed from last quarter. And I would also just add that we are managing a lot of large grants and projects, and it is important that we bring them in on budget as well, because if we do not, those, we may need additional operational funds to cover those projects. So we do spend a lot of time working on those budgets as well. So that's the second quarter report. Bill, I don't know if you have any other.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Earl, thanks. Thank you very much for all that detail and good explanations. We've talked about it before. If you look at our overall expenses, we are a people business. We exist to provide services. Almost exactly 50% of the expenses in the town's budget for the current year are wages and salaries. Wages and salaries. Many of those are covered by union contracts that have wage increases at or slightly above 3%. Our non-represented employee wage increases are also in that same range, very close to what our union increases are. So that's half of our budget, and it's up 3 to 3.5%. The big quarter, if you will, where we're really facing numbers, 25%, again, almost exactly, of our budget represents benefits, healthcare and retirement system contributions in particular, as well as retiree expenses. Those are not going up 3%. Those are going up 10, 12%. So when 25% of your budget is mandated, those are numbers we have no control over. Our health insurance premiums obviously are set by this insurance reciprocal. Our contributions to the retirement system are set by the state retirement system, and the state comptroller has worked very hard to make sure that the state retirement system is financially stable, unlike a number of other states, particularly Illinois, where they've had serious problems over the years funding the retirement needs of employees. We don't have that problem here, but we do have the problem of making payments that reflect significant increases. So that's 75% of our budget expenses that are covered by wages, benefits, and those are going to be going up significantly next year, which is why we are going to have to be looking very closely at all of the other items in the budget, particularly the capital improvement plan, which is very much underway now, and we are engaged. We've gotten input from the Budget Review Task Force, and we have met with staff and are prioritizing their capital needs in an attempt to identify what the priorities are and whether there are ways of funding those priorities other than current year budget, whether it's borrowing, whether it's grants, or other approaches. So that's where we are in the first quarter. But the fact that our budget is substantially balanced for the first half of the year is, again, a tribute to the good work that you and your team in the finance department do. So thank you, Earl, and thank you for putting together all of these numbers. A couple other things I do want to talk about tonight. First, some really good news, and you may have seen it on Facebook already. The French Road Bridge project is now substantially complete, and traffic is open in both directions as of earlier today on the French Road Bridge. That is ahead of schedule. It's actually about a month ahead of where we thought the schedule was. We were obviously very cognizant of the fact that that's an important route to school. So we knew it had to get finished in August. It didn't. It got finished in July, and that's great news. What did it cost the town of Brighton? It didn't. That's funded through the State Bridge New York grant program. So we're very pleased to have that project grant funded and done on time. Thank you to all of the team that worked on that project to reach such a successful result. I do want to talk a little bit about waste management, give everybody an update on that. A couple areas that we have been hearing in particular. First, we've heard from some residents that they need a second recycling toter. Waste management can do that, and we will facilitate it with you. We need you to contact Chad Roscoe in our Department of Public Works. Chad's number is 784-5224, although he won't be able to get back to you this week. It'll be next week that he'll get back to you. But the additional toter and the pickup of the material from that extra toter is $60 a year, but because it's July and it gets prorated, it's going to be about $30 to get you through the rest of this year. So that's if you need a second toter, and we've heard from some families, although we haven't actually had a lot of people actually come in and make the payment to get that second toter yet. So make those arrangements with Chad, 784-5224, and Waste Management will get you that second toter. Some other residents are either asking, well, in general, they are, whether because of age or perhaps disability, are unable to get those 96-gallon toters from their garage or from the side of their house out to the street. And in the past, Waste Management has picked up some households, and that option is going to continue to be available. Again, what we want folks to do is engage with Chad, 784-5224. Chad loves it when I give out his phone number. And there are really going to be two ways of dealing with this. Some people, whereas we had on the one side, people want a second recycling toter so they can recycle all of their stuff. I know I've seen some folks on social media say, well, I'm just going to throw it in the trash. This is still much cheaper than what you would be paying outside of the refuse district. So I ask, if you please continue to do your recycling, get that second toter. But some people don't need, 1- and 2-person families, and maybe a 96-gallon toter is too much to get to the street. Waste Management will be offering people a 64-gallon toter for recycling. Second, Waste Management will continue to provide service, front door service up to your house for people who qualify based on age or based on physical conditions or disabilities that prevent them from getting their toter out to the street. If you fall into one of those categories and believe you're going to need continued help from Waste Management, again, reach out to Chad, 784-5224. He will get you the paperwork that you'll need to complete in order to qualify for that service. We want to make sure that everybody in town is able to get service at their door if they need it. I do think it's important, because I've gotten some questions. We went from weekly recycling to every other week, and people have asked, where are the savings? And you're right. It actually costs about the same as it cost last year, even though the recycling is now every other week. But I think it's important to look at what it could have been. We put the refuse districts out to bid. We got bids from 2 carriers. There's really only 2 major carriers these days in the Rochester area. So those 2, Waste Management and Casella, bid on our refuse contract. If we had continued what we've had in the past, in other words, a toter for your garbage and a 14-gallon blue box, which didn't have a lid, and one of the things we heard from a lot of people is that particularly in the winter, the wind blows your recycling around. We wanted to get containers with a lid. But the blue box option was one of the options that was bid out. That would have involved an increase of between $60 and $70 per year, or an increase well over 20% from last year to this year if we had kept the status quo. So when people ask, where's the savings? That's the savings. We would be paying $60 to $70 more if we kept the blue box model. How about if we had done weekly service with toters? That would have been more than $40 more than we had last year. In other words, about 15% higher than last year, a significant price increase. So yes, some people are asking for a second toter, and they will be paying about, in this first year, about $30 because it's prorated, but going forward, $60. Most people, based on the numbers of people we've heard so far, are able to do their recycling with a single toter. And we didn't want to impose that additional cost on people when only a relatively small number of people needed that additional capacity. Residents in the district are paying less than $290 per year this year. I just heard from a resident in town who said Waste Management just told him they're increasing his fee. He's not in the district, to $513 annually. So through the district, the soon-to-be over 6,000 or so people, households, who will be in our refuse district are saving about $220 per year. So because of the district, residents in the town of Brighton are going to be saving next year about $1.2 million in total. That's not the town saving. That's you, the residents who are in the refuse district. We're going to be holding a public hearing at our next meeting to consider admitting about 600 new residents into the refuse district. So we're past the time when people can join for the 2026 season, because it has to go on the tax rolls and everything else. But it's never too early to talk to Chad. It's never too early for those neighborhoods, or even just in individual streets, that would like to explore the option of joining the refuse district in the 2027 year. And you guessed it, call Chad. And I really do appreciate all the work Chad does in districts, but this year in particularly in refuse districts. Chad can walk you through the petition process, and if you have folks on your street or in a larger area in your neighborhood that want to think about joining a refuse district, Chad can talk to you about the pros and cons and the process for doing so. So, a couple of other things I want to mention. In particular, a little over a week ago, we've talked about this in the past, and most of you have heard it at night, the loud racing, motorcycles, loud cars on 590. 590 is patrolled by the state police and the sheriff. The Brighton Police Department does not patrol 590, or any of the other expressways in the town of Brighton, 490, 590, or 390. But I had reached out to the sheriff. The chief and I had a meeting with the sheriff, and we expressed the concern that people have with the noise. So the Brighton Police Department joined the state police and the Monroe County Sheriff in a targeted detail on 590. And I don't have the exact numbers. I don't know if you have them with you, Chief, in terms of the number of tickets that were written just that one night, but it was a pretty substantial number.
Yeah, the combined total, I think it was about 70 tickets.
That's what I was going to say, but I wasn't sure exactly. So that's a significant effort. It's one night. We want to get it out because honestly, we want people to know that there is enforcement going on 590, that while that night was targeted, and maybe every night isn't going to be targeted, we're going to continue to make sure we're never going to get everybody. And one of the things we have to do, and one of the part of the feedback we have to the sheriff and the state police, is we want it to be later in the evening, because that's when the noise is more impactful on residents. But 70 tickets written is pretty good, and those 70 people are going to know they can't speed with impunity on 590, and that's a good start. Chief, I thank you for going with me and making the ask, and for your officers participating in that effort, and to the sheriff and the state police, I thank them as well for working on that. Finally, we've talked about it, but again, the community center, we are working on the grant application towards the cost of the community center. We will be talking a lot about the community center going forward, but we will be applying to the New York State BRICS grant program. BRICS stands for Building Recreation Infrastructure for Communities, Kids, and Seniors. And that's exactly what we are looking to do, is building recreational infrastructure. You heard the report last month. We've heard from the public that the facility over at the former Brookside School that the Talmudic Institute now owns is really not adequate for a community with our needs. People in this community would like to see us build a new community center. And what we know from looking at our options and from considering the alternatives, that there are significant advantages to a location in the heart of town, immediately adjacent to our playing fields, one that is built specifically to meet the needs of a community like ours, and most importantly, one that we own ourselves, so that we're not still in that position of paying rent for years and years, as we have at the Brookside School, and what we have left is an older building that we don't own. So all of those factors led our consultants to the conclusion of building new, building at Buckland Park in a location where we can take advantage of existing parking fields, existing playing fields, land that we already own, built to our specific needs. And we're hopeful that that will also resonate with the folks that will be reviewing our grant application. And having made the commitment to put that grant together, work with a consulting firm to do it, we will be submitting that grant before August 15th, the due date. That's all I have. Matters of the attorney for the town. John?
Nothing to report tonight, Supervisor.
Thank you. Matters of the town clerk.
Nothing this evening?
Matters of the town board. We have no executive session items for tonight. I want to thank again our ASL interpreters. You are very, very important to this community, and we appreciate you making our meetings accessible to all. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, August 13th, here at Empire State University in this room at 7 p.m. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Bill, I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Good night, everybody. Have a good evening.